Today we're going to put two of Apple's most popular iPads head to head, the powerful iPad Air M3 and the iPad A16. We're going to dive deep into their specs and show you exactly how they leverage the new iPadOS 26 features. And also we're going to talk about the hardware as well to see which one is right for you. So first up, let's talk productivity because multitasking on iPad has been fundamentally re-engineered with flexible windowing in iPadOS 26. So now you're not just stuck with the split view where you have two apps side by side. Now you can take multiple apps, reposition them around the screen, and you can also freely resize them to create any kind of workflow that you need. There's also window tiling shortcuts like pressing globe and control into the right will put one window on the right. You can do globe and control on the left. This is going to act as split view, or you can also tile up and down. So this is going to be very helpful if you want to juggle things like Safari and notes in a PDF at the same time, or if you want to have emails open and a messaging app open at the same time. Then the A16 is now going to perform admirably, whereas before it was just a little bit clunky to use multiple apps at the same time. Also, they finally added the stage manager to iPad A16 as well, which they previously said they couldn't do, and now it's there. So I love that you have this functionality of having so many apps open at the same time on the A16. But if you're going to compare this to the iPad Air M3, this is where you'll see the iPad Air M3 starts to pull ahead due to the superior processing power of the M3 chip and also the RAM. So the M3 iPad Air has 8 gigabytes of RAM and the iPad A16 only has 6 gigabytes of RAM. So if you start to push the limits like running multiple demanding apps like a video editor or 3D modeling app, or if you're even doing some things like a complex spreadsheet or several browser tabs, you're going to find that the M3's extra RAM and better processor ensures that apps perform better and they stay active in the memory, which prevents frequent reloads, and it maintains buttery smooth transitions across apps. The iPad Air M3 has an 8-core CPU and a 9-core GPU, which is just going to be way better than the one that's built into the iPad A16. Also, iPadOS 26 introduces background tasks, which allows you to export video files or download massive project assets or run other computationally intensive processes in the background, so you can do different things on the iPad even while those are running. These are also all going to perform better on the M3 just because of the better raw processing power. Another big design change I've noticed with iPadOS 26 is the menu bar on the top, which is really cool because you can see all the shortcuts that you can run with the keyboard, and it also just allows you to get a little bit more into the weeds of certain apps with shortcuts you might not have known even existed, like on the music app, for example. iPadOS 26 also has window control on the top left, or some people call it the traffic lights, where you can close, minimize, or maximize apps, all just with those shortcuts from the top left, which is just another feature that makes it feel a little bit more like a laptop. But of course, you still have things like you can open up all your apps and go through those just like you could with the older iPadOS. When I was using both the iPads for day-to-day iPad-y tasks like browsing the web, looking up recipes, watching videos, or just other basic app usage, I felt like they honestly performed pretty similarly. I will say the Air M3 has those hardware differences that make it a better choice. Like it has a better camera on it, the landscape camera on the front is better, the screen's a little bit brighter, and it's fully laminated. It also supports a better color space on the display, and the speakers are better on the iPad Air M3 as well. But if you've never used it, the iPad A16 is going to perform just fine. And it's got a 6-core CPU and a 4-core GPU, but you will appreciate the 8-core CPU and the 9-core GPU of the iPad Air M3 if you're doing things like playing any sort of games, because the M3's GPU has hardware accelerated ray tracing as well as mesh shading. So these are some future-proof technologies that are going to make games look more realistic, and they'll also allow creative apps to run faster. The next big difference between the two of these is Apple Intelligence. So Apple Intelligence has really underwhelmed with all the different features that it has, but unfortunately, you're not able to use any of the Apple Intelligence features with the A16. You have to have at least the iPad mini with the A17 chip, or the iPad Air with the M3, or if you have a newer iPhone, it's going to run on it as well. So you won't be able to use features like live translation in messages, FaceTime, or phone. You can't generate Genmoji. You also can't use the image playground. And the A16 also will lack smarter reminders and writing tools that you'll have to have the iPad Air M3 to use. So this will make the M3 Air a more capable and future-proof device for AI workflows. Now, it is worth stating you can still use any AI provider of your choice with the A16, so you can always run ChatGPT or run Gemini's app on it. It's going to perform just fine because that processing is not happening on the iPad. It's actually happening in the cloud. And Apple Intelligence is still really a half-baked experience, so I would say right now, this doesn't really matter much, but the Air M3 is going to be a better option if you want those future promised features. Let's talk accessories and external display support. iPadOS 26 definitely makes the iPad more like a laptop, but if you really want to take it up the next notch, you need to either use an external display or also an external keyboard and mouse with it. So the iPad Air M3 is going to support an external display with resolution up to 6K at 60 Hz. It also has better stage manager functionality, which allows you to actually extend your workspace with overlapping windows. And you can also resize the windows separately on the different screens, just like a Mac desktop. This is where the M series iPad shines. The iPad A16 supports an external display up to 4K resolution at 60 Hz, and it does have flexible windowing still, but the external display functionality is more limited compared to the M series. So it basically just mirrors the iPad's display or allows you to run apps in full screen. Like if you're watching a video, you can run it in full screen on a TV or an external display, which means you're not going to be able to truly extend your workspace with overlapping windows on the external monitor in the same way that you can with the iPad Air M3. The next difference is the accessories. The iPad Air M3 has the Magic Keyboard with the cantilever design, which I love. It's flat on the bottom. It works really well, even if you're going to use it on a couch because it's so stable and easy to use. You get a trackpad on it as well, and I love using the trackpad so that you have the pointer. The iPad A16 has the Apple Magic Keyboard Folio case, which has this kickstand, which is a little bit annoying to deal with, and there's sometimes when I pull the kickstand off, and the back cover of this case wants to pop off. So this actually has a separate back cover and a keyboard for it. So this is a folio style case that uses a smart connector on the bottom to magnetically attach. They have all the same functionality. Typing on them feels almost identical, although the Air's case feels a little bit nicer to type on, and the Air's case also has a pass-through charging port on the side of it. To me, I just think the Magic Keyboard with the cantilever design is a better option for users who really want that portability because you can set it anywhere. The footprint of it is smaller, and it's just easier to use the hinge design than to use the kickstand design of the Magic Keyboard Folio. There's also a couple different Apple Pencil models. The Air M3 supports the Apple Pencil Pro and also the Apple Pencil USB-C. The cool thing about the Pencil Pro is it can actually charge and pair on the top of it, and it also has squeeze and barrel roll gestures for intuitive tool changes and brush control, which enhances creative workflows. The A16 supports either the original Apple Pencil first gen with an adapter to charge it with USB-C, or it also supports the Apple Pencil with USB-C, as well as the Magic Keyboard Folio. You can also always use any Bluetooth keyboard or mouse with either of these iPads. Let's talk some ports and other hardware. These look pretty much the same. They both have a Touch ID button on the side of them for unlocking, volume up and down buttons, and USB-C ports. The M3 iPad Air has USB 3 up to 10 gigabits a second, and the A16 uses USB 2.0 up to 480 megabits a second, which is going to be slower for larger file transfers, or if you're working off an external SSD of some sort, that's where the M3 is going to be a better option for you. Let's talk display quality. The iPad Air M3 features a liquid retina display with the P3 wide color support. It also has True Tone and a fully laminated display with anti-reflective coating, which really does make a difference when you compare it to the A16. It also boasts 500 nits of peak brightness, and you can get this model either with an 11-inch or a 13-inch display. The A16 has a vibrant liquid retina display, also has True Tone 500 nits of peak brightness, but it has the sRGB color space, and it lacks the anti-reflective coating, which you can tell a difference whenever you have them side by side. So this just means the Air M3 is going to have more vibrant and accurate colors, which is really crucial for creative work. And it also does reduce glare in outdoors or brightly lit environments. If you compare the cameras, both of them have 12 megapixel wide rear cameras, and they also have a 12 megapixel ultra wide front camera with center stage, which keeps you in the middle whenever you're using FaceTime or other video calls. The M3 does have a better image signal processor though, which does help with computational photography and makes the camera on the front of it look a little bit better. Both of these also have fast Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, but the M3 iPad Air has Wi-Fi 6E, and the iPad A16 only has Wi-Fi 6, which this does just increase your Wi-Fi connectivity and speeds that you have with the M3. Overall, from a hardware perspective, the M3 Air is definitely much upgraded over the A16. So with iPadOS 26 and all these new functions, should you get the iPad A16 or the iPad Air M3? The iPad A16 is a great value champion because you can now move your apps around, you can run Stage Manager. It's an incredible amount of iPad for the money, even without Apple Intelligence features. I would say the iPad Air M3 is for those who demand more. It's for the creators, the power users, the professionals, and anyone who really wants to fully maximize iPadOS 26's new features to hopefully use Apple Intelligence in the future to run more demanding applications and to push the boundaries of what a tablet can do. That's when you want the iPad Air M3 because it's got that M3 chip, which is a computer grade chip shoved into an iPad with better capabilities than the A16. The A16 really has a phone chip shoved into an iPad. The Air M3 has a computer chip shoved in an iPad. So the M3's better chip, the superior display, the increased RAM, the external display capabilities, and better accessories definitely make this more of a true portable workstation. But depending on your workflow, your budgeting, and how you envision using your iPad in the years to come, the A16 can still totally do everything that you need. I love using the multiple windows on it. It performs really well with the Magic Keyboard Folio or with any Bluetooth keyboard and mouse. This is going to be a better multitasking device than ever. It's really hard to choose between the two of these. I would say if you just want to get into the world of multitasking, running different apps at the same time, doing light productivity work, and just using the iPad as an augmented workstation to your main computer workstation, that's when the A16 is going to be a great option for you. But if you want to have one device that can handle pretty much anything, that's when I recommend you get the Air M3 instead, because of all those small upgrades that just make it a better overall device. So which of these are you leaning towards? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If this video helped you decide, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell for more iPad tips and tricks and other Mac related content. If you're interested in buying either of these iPads or my favorite iPad accessories, I do have links to buy in the description below.